So let's start. I just want to say one thing in terms of, I don't know if I have the presentation up. All right, as soon as the presentation is up, I'm going to start with 1847. And I'm going to tell Jens that you were wrong. Berlin was a really good place to be in 1847. So I don't know if you know, but Siemens was created 232 meters away from here. If you go to the Mövenpick, this is where Siemens was created, and it has a pretty good valuation. So for quite a long time, this is an attractive city to be. I'm from Berlin, so that's really where we wanted to be. At some stage, the presentation should be up. It is there. All right. So, but the story today is not about Werner von Siemens, even if he had already the fashionable sort of hipster Berlin way of dressing himself. The story I want to tell you today is about a story of struggle, and Dr. Kromme started about it. Struggle, why? This is actually Siemens. Siemens was an entrepreneur. He created Siemens in Berlin, and he was absolutely obsessed with connecting Europe to the US with a telegraph system, or let's call it digitization 0.0. He failed once, he failed twice, he failed 3 times. His ship sank, so this is a picture of his ship which was sinking. The cable was cut by the competition, but what did he do? He actually said, look, I have this electrical principle to connect over beeps, if you want, to the US, but I'm going to use this principle. I'm going to invent the dynamo, and I'm going to go into another industry. He changed the lighting industry. He put the lighting industry from gas to electrical. He changed the automation industry, the production industry. He even changed ironing. So the important part, which I need to tell you, is when there's an industrial revolution, and when there's a revolution like an internet revolution, you might have a great idea which goes in one direction and it doesn't work. You might apply it in a completely different way. That's my main message. So just to introduce myself, Dr. Kromme already did this. My name's Cedrik Neike. I'm the newest, youngest, whatever board member of Siemens. I joined 2 months ago, 2.5 months. I actually worked 16 years at Cisco. And at Cisco, I was part of the internet revolution. I was in Silicon Valley, part of the mobile data revolution. I was part of the cloud revolution. But then something happened. The next big revolution actually is going to happen in Europe. If you think that the industrial revolution is going to happen here, this is where everybody is looking for. So when I got a call, thank you for giving me the call, when I got a call and said, do you want to participate in this revolution? I said yes. Now, there's a little issue. And this is when I actually announced to my Cisco colleagues I would join Siemens. The first 500 emails I got is, can I get a washing machine at a discount, right? This was the first sort of reaction I got. And I need to tell all of you, which you might not know, Siemens, we do not do washing machines anymore. We sold this to Bosch. What we actually do, we're an 80 billion revenue company, and we're number 1 or number 2 in areas like of automation. The automation industry, Siemens is an absolute number 1. We're number 1, number 2 in the mobility space, in the train space, in the energy production space, in the energy distribution space. In all of those key spaces, which actually Europe is very strong, this is where Siemens is strong. But we're not arrogant. That's a very important part. The idea of the struggle is that we have to think about how to reinvent ourselves. My father, which doesn't exist anymore, but at the time told me, Cedrik, there's 3 pillars of German society, just for the non-Germans, for you. There's the state, there's the church, and there's Siemens, right? These are the 3 pillars of German society. And the reality is, Siemens is more than that. Siemens actually, and I discovered over the last 2.5 months, actually a company which is looking at reinventing itself pretty dramatically. I'm going to give you 3 examples. The first one, anyone has heard about Park Sloan Lane? It's in Brooklyn. So in Brooklyn, there is a whole sort of neighborhood which is starting to trade energy peer-to-peer. And they're using blockchain to be able to do this peer-to-peer trading. This is done together with Siemens. So we work with a startup, LO3 Energy, to be able to exchange my sort of, if you want, PV, solar energy surplus to my neighbor, which needs this for his air conditioning. So we are interested, and we are working really on how can we build peer-to-peer networks. Because the reality of the energy sector, it goes from super centralized to very, very decentralized, and we need to have very different technologies to stay the leaders in this new environment. So that's the first example. The second example is, for all of you, also important. We're the absolute leader in imaging technology. So this is a nerd slide for you. We basically are the absolute leaders in imaging technology. But there's a problem. When you do ultrasound and you look at the heart, you cannot see, ultrasound cannot see the valve of the heart, which means that if you ever have a heart problem, that's very big issue, because if you need to get operated, you need to look at this. So we looked at artificial intelligence and looked at thousands and thousands of hearts and looked at the flow of blood to understand actually, can we simulate, can we build a digital twin of the heart and show basically on how the heart actually works and where the valve actually sits. So we now can, because we use artificial intelligence in our imaging technology, make the invisible visible, this valve's visible, which is super important because now the doctor can look at it, he understands where the valve is, he can do the operation and afterwards check if it actually works. So some of you work like crazy, you will be very thankful that we have this technology. It's only possible because we use artificial intelligence. So the first one, we reinvent business models. Second one, we reinvent the technology of how do we look in healthcare and how do we work in healthcare. The last one, I have 4 kids, particularly works well with my kids, the examples. I don't know if you know, this is Curiosity, the Mars rover. So the Mars rover has a problem. The Mars rover, you basically take a rocket, you put a car on the rocket, you send it for a couple of, I think it's 600 million kilometers across the solar system, and then you have to take this car, which goes at 6,000 meters per second, and slow it down to 1 meters per second to land. You have one shot, you get it wrong, it's $2.5 billion gone. We used Siemens software to simulate this landing 8,000 times to actually get it right. We built a digital twin, we simulated this before the physical element could happen. So we reinvented this product creation element. Most people does not know, and that's why I'm sort of a bit pushing back and we're not digital. Siemens is actually the 10th biggest software company at the moment. So we have on Earth, we have the physical assets and we have the software assets. And the software assets, we need to reinvent the business model, we need to reinvent how we use artificial intelligence, we need to reinvent on how do we actually produce products so that we go to mass production of one. These are just things which we do at Siemens, which you would probably not exist. Now, we cannot do it on our own because the idea of what we want to do, our strategy is very simple. We want to connect everything which we have at the moment, every turbine, we have, I don't know, 20,000 locomotives, we want to connect them. We want to build an operating system, a platform which was described before, and then we want to run apps on it. And that's where we need you. I'm sure the Sigfox guys which are coming afterwards will tell me, hey, I can help you connect this, but I'm sure there's also other technology to connect. The second thing, if you can help us connect brownfields, we need you. If you can help us make our operating system better, we need you. If you have applications you want to run and you have artificial intelligence and you could optimize just 1% of a gas turbine or 1% of a wind turbine, these are hundreds of millions of CO2 emissions which you will help reduce. That's the strategy we have, and that's the strategy where we need everyone here in the room. Because we're very well connected. You call it old industry, I call it normal industry, or the industry which also actually works. We have a lot of relationships. We work with Berkeley, Fraunhofer, etc. We do co-development with our biggest customers. But we want to open the door and say, Dr. Krummer told me, Cedrik, if you do a good presentation, you will have at least one person in this room which will come up to you afterwards and tell you, I have an idea which I have as a startup and I want to make it happen. And that's what we want to do. We want to find these ideas. So let me give you 5 examples. We have much more, but 5 examples. If you're in this room, even if you're doing fintech, I just gave you the example of energy trading, or where we need help and we want your help. So the first one, we go from a world of centralized. We had in 1990 1,000 power stations in Germany. We now have 1.7 million energy producers which need to be connected. Hugely distributed, hugely greener, hugely more different than it was before. So we need help here. The second one is artificial intelligence. If you can help us, I just talked about the turbines, that would be fantastic. Connected e-mobility, autonomous machines. We basically have the absolute #1 position in manufacturing. If you want to go into manufacturing, we want to work with you. And then blockchain applications. So overall, my message is very simple. My message is Berlin is cool. So first, Jens, and it has been cool for 170 years, so don't take it down. We want to help each other. So perhaps we don't have the biggest capital, but we have a $1 billion investment fund. We have a huge access for you if you have technology which you want to apply and reinvent. And who knows, perhaps the next, the point was, if you would have had NOAH conference 170 years ago, he would probably have sit here. So if you sit here and you want to be the next Werner von Siemens, build something which lasts. We want to help you achieve this, and we want to work with you to be able to do this. Because then we will have achieved the idea of NOAH, and I talked about chips, I talked about digital twins, but I want to talk to you about opportunities and working together. Thank you, everybody, and looking forward. This is my email address, actually my email address. Send me an email, and we will get in contact with you or connect me over LinkedIn. All right? Thank you. Sorry.